folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead, the prepared homestead. This is Travis. Thank you for watching, and I'd like to encourage you to like the video, little thumbs up, if you like it, of course. And down there in the wherever it is on your device, click the subscribe button if you would, and there's a little bell right next to it. If you click on that, you'll get a notification when I upload new videos. If you could do that, I would sure appreciate it. There's a little quick shameless plug for the channel. So the last several videos I've been making have been some of it's rants, some of it's bringing you, information of things that's happening or that could happen in the future. And in a lot of ways, it could be taken as kind of a doom and gloom kind of videos, or even that everything's just getting awful, and the sky is falling and it's all falling apart. And so today I wanted to, kind of make a little lighter video in a way, or more of an encouraging video, because one of the things that I really try not to do on this channel when I talk about, the things that are happening or that could happen, is to not come across as some kind of, chicken little, run to your, bunkers. It's, grab your guns and head to your bunkers because it's all falling apart right now. And if you don't, buy enough food and get enough stuff, you're all just gonna die. I try not to do that. Try to bring a little common sense to it. And so today, I wanted to talk about that, because for many people, no matter how prepared you are, no matter how much you're mentally prepared for the things that are happening and that could possibly happen, the more and more we learn and the more we hear about stuff, sometimes it can kind of get you down. Some people experience depression, some people experience anxiety, fear, and some people, can get to the point that they figure, well, there's so many things that's happening and there's so much that could happen. What's the point? What's the point of trying? There's no way that we could, survive all the things that's happening and all the stuff that the powers that be are doing to try to manipulate and control us. So I wanted to address those things because while it can seem that way, I think in the bigger picture that it's not so much that way. And I think the reasons why some of the powers that be, the ones that control things behind the curtain, do the things they do, is because they're the ones that's afraid. They know that their numbers are much smaller, and that while they may have an agenda they would like to do, in the end I think they live in a lot more fear. So let's talk about that for a little bit. That it's it's okay to have these kinds of emotions, but just not to let them control you, and to get you to the point that you're living in a state of panic or fear or depression or whatever it is. There are a lot of things that's happening out there, that whether it's man-made, natural, all the economic stuff and the political things, and it just goes on, manipulation and control, and the technology that's being constantly developed that, could rule over us, all this kind of stuff. I saw something yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, Business Insider had an article talking about that the military has the capability of having autonomous robots, cyborg robots in the military, active service type military roles, within the next decade or so, or two. And we're talking something like out of Terminator is what they're alluding to. And they said that the biggest fear is that the American people just aren't ready for that. Well, it's probably because we've had the last 20 years of movies talking about how these this artificial intelligence and cyborg robots are going to rule over us, so that's why. But when you read stuff like that, you're like, oh my goodness, how can we win against this? You read things about the potentials of 5G and its threats, and you're like, there's no way we can prep and survive against that. And there is a argument to be made for that. Um, but, there's several things that kind of go through my number one. We as a people, depending on how you want to believe, it's fine. It goes, it works for any way you believe. But we have been on this planet. We have existed for a very, very long time. And in that time that we have existed, we as a people, as a species, have gone through, some horrendous things that have killed, tens of millions of people, and you know, whether it was man-made wars and natural disasters and all this kind of stuff. As the earth kind of changes and things happen, and volcanic eruptions and mini ice ages, and all this, pandemic plagues and things like that could have wiped us off the planet, and yet we're still here. And the reasons why that we're still here is because we have a very survivor mentality as a species. It's something that's, I believe, that is, part of our creation, that we, are to survive. We're to go out and to multiply and be fruitful, and to prosper, and these things that we are supposed to be, as a species doing, we are doing, and to do that, we have to be kind of tough. We have to be very resilient, and we are. And even though, many would say, well, we've become a weaker species nowadays in the last few decades, and, I tend to agree with that. But I think overall, we are still a very tough people. And Americans specifically are very tough. Those of you that are kind of the history buffs, especially, early American history and what people had to go through to survive, to expand this nation, and to go out and blaze trails, is quite amazing. And they did it, and they survived. The other thing is that that's why we prep. That's why we live self-sufficient. That's why we strive to learn to do things on our own, to be more independent. It doesn't mean that you live that way now. I mean, you can if you choose to, but that we learn these skills so that if there's ever a time that we have to use them, we already know how to do it. If you learn how to do your laundry completely by hand, wash it and dry it, it doesn't mean you have to wash it and dry it by hand every day, all the time. Some do, but you don't have to. But know that you understand how to do it. You've practiced that skill. You have the things that you need to do it that way. And if ever the time comes that you don't have electricity, or you don't have a means to wash your clothes in a modern sense, you know how to do it, in the old-fashioned way. And that's, kind of an example. That we have the things that we need, and the mental capacity, the knowledge, and the wisdom to know how to do things to take care of ourselves. That is, some of the things that we do as preppers, not just store up food in buckets, and of course that's part of it. That's a big part of it, but it's not the only thing we do. And that's the same way with homesteading and self-sufficient. On this channel, I like to blend them together and make them one. But we do these things because it increases our odds of survival. It makes us even more resilient, that we're not dependent upon something or someone that could fail us. And if we become so dependent upon this system, that we're not able to survive without it, if and when it collapses, then what happens to us? So that's why we do what we do. We continue to become better at our skill, our craft, which is, to be self-sufficient, to be able to survive, survivalists, whatever you want to call yourself, neo-pioneer. Anyways, and then lastly, while I am no fortune teller, and I have no prophetic words of what's going to happen, I do believe in a book that tells me how things play out in the end. Maybe not in detail, but I know where my heart is, and I know where I'll end up in the long run. So it gives me peace and comfort to believe in the Father and know that, I have a good idea of what's going to happen. Maybe not all of you believe that, and that's fine, that's on you. But I believe, especially the other two mixed with it, it helps us know that that we do have a good chance of winning against whatever comes at us. We just have to do things right. Um, of course, the odds against us, or the things that may prevail against us, seem to be growing exponentially, much more than they ever had in the past. You didn't have all this technology, you didn't have the people and the power that exists. But in other ways, I think comparatively speaking, the people of old did have similar things to fight against the power that was trying to control them. I mean, look at the Roman Empire and compare to just the average citizen of Rome. It must have looked gargantuous and so powerful and capable of doing anything it wanted to. And yet they ended up failing and collapsing, and the Roman people, they survived it. So, and that may not be the best example, but I think that what it tells us is that if we have the right heart and the right mind, and we learn as much as we can, and we get ourselves prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, that whatever happens, we can overcome it. And that is really why I do what I do, and why my family does what we do, so that we have a better chance of surviving. And I've talked about that before on this channel. So while there are times certain things happen, and it may, cause us to worry, or, grabs our attention more than others, and those of you that are woke, that are aware of the things that happen in this world, you know what I'm talking about. Every once in a while, there's those things that you're like, oh wow, that's a big deal. To me, instead of it stopping me in my tracks and causing me to give up, or causing me to panic and worry, it just encourages me more to do what we do. And so that's what I hope that many of you will do, because it can become overwhelming to know what is going on out there. And I'm telling you, there's hardly a day that goes by, if I spend any time on the internet, or any other means, which that's the only, I don't have TV or TV service, but just about every time I get on, there's more stuff out there. There's more things happening that's pointing down this road of potential collapse, or pointing down this road of some type of natural disaster, or whatever it is, because I think we're getting closer and closer. It's kind of inevitable that something will eventually happen. It's just kind of how history works. It always repeats itself. So there's hardly a time that I get on that I don't see something else that's happening. But we try not to let it, get us down and get us afraid and get us depressed or cause us to give up, because when you do that, then you have lost, you've failed. And we can't allow ourselves to do that, because we are a strong people, and much like our ancestors of old, we can overcome what comes against us. So as you're watching these videos, or you're watching other videos, please don't allow yourself to just, let it overwhelm you or overtake you. Use it as a means to educate yourself, become more informed on what's going on out there. And as always, I always encourage you to research the information yourself. Don't just believe myself or someone else on YouTube. Confirm it and research it yourself, and use it to embolden you to, become more resilient and become more self-sufficient and more prepared for the things that happen in your life. And if you do that, you'll be prepared for a lot of things. You'll be prepared for a broken down car, a flat tire, or termination of a job, or an injury, or a house fire, or a storm. You'll be prepared for all of those things too. So there's a lot of other benefits to doing what we do. So anyways, I wanted to take this time because, like I said, there's been a lot of videos I've been coming out with that kind of, you know, going down that road of all the, and the sun's hitting me right in the eye right now, trying to move. You know, going down this road of all these things that's happening, and it can get a little, you know, get someone down sometimes. So I just wanted to stop and encourage you to keep pressing forward. Don't give up, and you know, stay on this fight, because you know, righteousness will prevail in the end, and I do believe that. So thank you all for watching. Again, if you would like, subscribe, share, you know, any of that kind of stuff. Comment below. Let me know what you think. We'll catch you in the next video.